You're going to bill them $340,000 for this project. Or you're fired. Blake Harrison stood in my office doorway, arms crossed, face red with the kind of anger that comes from someone who's never been told no. I looked up from my desk, where I'd been reviewing the proposal for Quantum Dynamics, our largest client, representing 40% of our annual revenue. The same client I'd brought in 8 years ago. The same client who trusted me implicitly. The project cost is $185,000, I said evenly. That's what the scope requires. That's what I'm billing. The client has budget approval for $350,000. They're expecting to pay that much. We're leaving money on the table. We're providing honest billing. There's a difference. Blake stepped into my office, closing the door behind him. His cologne was expensive. His suit was custom. Everything about him screamed new money trying to look like old money. He'd inherited Harrison Consulting from his father 3 years ago. In those 3 years, he'd systematically destroyed everything the old man had built on integrity. Audrey, I'm not asking. I'm telling you. Inflate the proposal to $340,000 or I'll find someone who will. I stood up slowly, meeting his eyes. Then you'll need to find someone who will, because I won't defraud a client who's trusted me for 8 years. This isn't fraud. It's business. It's fraud. And when Quantum finds out, and they will, they'll sue us into oblivion and take every other client with them. Blake's jaw clenched. You're fired. Effective immediately. Pack your office and be out by end of business today. He turned and walked out, leaving my door wide open. I could see heads popping up over cubicle walls. Everyone had heard. I stood there for exactly 10 seconds, my heart pounding. Then I sat back down and opened my laptop. If Blake wanted to play this game, I'd play it better. I pulled up my client list. 37 accounts. I'd personally brought in 28 of them. They didn't have relationships with Harrison Consulting. They had relationships with me. I started making calls. Before we dive into what happened next, if stories about integrity in business and standing up for what's right resonate with you, consider joining our community. We just hit our first milestone, and now we're on our way to 2,000 subscribers. Your support means everything as we share these real stories of people who chose principles over paychecks. My name is Audrey Vance. At 36 years old, I was the Senior Vice President of Client Relations at Harrison Consulting, a management consulting firm specializing in operational efficiency for Fortune 500 companies. I grew up in a middle-class family in Ohio. My father was a union electrician. My mother taught elementary school. They weren't wealthy, but they were rich in the ways that mattered: integrity, work ethic, and treating people with respect. My dad had a saying, "Your reputation is built in inches and lost in miles." He'd seen too many contractors cut corners, overcharge clients, do shoddy work. They'd make quick money and lose everything when word got around. That lesson shaped my entire career. I built relationships based on trust. I never overpromised. I never overbilled. When I told a client something would cost $185,000, it cost $185,000. When I said we'd deliver by Friday, we delivered by Thursday. That's why clients stayed with me for years. That's why they referred their colleagues. That's why I'd built Harrison Consulting's client base from 12 accounts to 37 in 8 years. And that's why Blake Harrison's demand to defraud Quantum Dynamics made my blood boil. The first call I made was to Jonathan Wright, CEO of Quantum Dynamics. "Audrey," his voice came through warm and friendly. "I was just reviewing your proposal. Looks solid as always. Jonathan, I need to tell you something, and I need you to keep it confidential for the next few hours." His tone shifted immediately. "What's wrong?" "I was just fired from Harrison Consulting." Silence. "Fired? Why?" I took a breath. "Blake Harrison ordered me to inflate your proposal from $185,000 to $340,000. When I refused, he terminated me. He wanted to overcharge us by That's almost double. I know, I wouldn't do it. So I'm out. Where are you going? I don't know yet, but I wanted to give you a heads up. Jonathan was quiet for a moment. Quantum's loyalty is to you, Audrey, not to some consulting firm. You've saved us millions over the years. We trust you. Keep me posted on your next move. We'll follow. I hung up and immediately called Christina Park, CFO of Apex Technologies. Audrey, how's my favorite consultant? Christina, I've got news. I'm leaving Harrison Consulting. Today. I gave her the abbreviated version. She listened without interrupting. So Blake's an idiot and a crook. Got it, she said when I finished. When you figure out your next move, call me. We'll move our business wherever you are. Third call, fourth call, fifth call. By 3 p.m., I'd spoken to 18 clients. 16 of them said the same thing. They'd follow me wherever I went. I started doing math in my head. Those 16 accounts represented approximately $8.2 million in annual billing. My office phone rang. Internal line. I ignored it. Then my cell phone. Blake. I answered. Yes? What the hell do you think you're doing? Packing my office. You told me to be out by end of business. I just got a call from Christina Park saying she's terminating our contract. Did you tell her about our conversation? I told her I was leaving. She drew her own conclusions. You're sabotaging my company. I'm informing my clients about a staffing change. If they choose to leave, that's their business decision. You signed a non-compete agreement. I signed an agreement not to work for a direct competitor for 12 months. I'm not working for anyone right now. I'm unemployed, Blake. You made sure of that. I could hear his breathing, heavy and angry. If you steal my clients, they're not your clients. They never were. They're mine. I brought them in. I managed them. I built those relationships. You just cashed the checks. I hung up. At 3:45 p.m., my office door slammed open. Blake stormed in, followed by 2 security guards and Walter Chen, Harrison's corporate attorney. Ms. Vance, Walter said formally, we need you to hand over your laptop and phone immediately. I looked up from the box I was packing. My personal phone? Any device that may contain proprietary company information. My phone is personal property. My laptop is company property, and I was planning to return it on my way out. I closed the laptop, unplugged it, and held it out. Blake snatched it from my hands. Check her call history, he snapped at Walter. She's been calling clients all day. On my personal phone, I said calmly, which you have no legal right to access. If you've stolen confidential client information, I haven't stolen anything. Client contact information isn't proprietary. Their phone numbers are publicly available. My relationships with them are my own. Blake's face was turning purple. You called them. You told them to leave. I informed them of a staffing change. That's not illegal. Walter held up a hand. Mr. Harrison, let me handle this. He turned to me. Ms. Vance, did you use company resources to contact clients after your termination? I used my personal phone to make personal calls. Did you encourage clients to terminate their contracts with Harrison Consulting? I told them I was leaving and that they should review their account management carefully going forward. Each client made their own decision. Blake stepped closer. You think you're so smart. You think you can just walk out of here and take everything I've built? Everything you've built? I brought in 75% of this firm's current revenue. I managed every major client relationship. You inherited a company from your father and spent 3 years dismantling everything he created. Get out, Blake said, his voice low and dangerous. Get out right now. I was already leaving. I picked up my box and walked toward the door. As I passed Blake, he grabbed my arm. This isn't over. I looked down at his hand on my arm, then up at his face. You should remove your hand. Witnesses are watching, and assault is I was halfway across the parking lot when I heard rapid footsteps behind me. Elena Rodriguez caught up, slightly out of breath. Audrey, wait! I stopped and turned. Elena, if Blake sees you talking to me, I don't care. Half the office doesn't care anymore. She glanced back at the building. I heard what happened. The whole floor heard. And I want you to know, whatever you do next, I'm in. Elena? I'm serious. I've been looking for an exit strategy since Blake took over. Before I could respond, the building's front doors opened. Blake emerged, talking rapidly on his phone. He spotted us and his eyes narrowed. He ended his call and marched toward us. Rodriguez, get back inside. Now. Elena didn't move. I'm on my break. I don't care. You're not to have any contact with Ms. Vance. To stand in a public parking lot having a conversation? Elena crossed her arms. Pretty sure that's legal. Get inside, he said to Elena. We need to reassign Audrey's accounts immediately. You're taking over quantum dynamics. Elena's eyebrows shot up. Me? I don't know anything about their operations. Then learn. The proposal needs to go out by end of week. What proposal? The one Audrey was working on. $340,000 for the efficiency project. Elena looked at me, then back at Blake. The project scope only justifies about $185,000. The client has budget for $350,000. We're pricing at $340,000. But that's what I'm telling you to do, unless you want to join Audrey in unemployment. The parking lot went quiet. Elena stood there for a long moment. Then she straightened her shoulders. I quit. Blake's mouth fell open. What? I quit. Effective immediately. I'm not going to overcharge a client, and I'm not going to work for someone who demands that I do. You can't just... I just did. Elena turned to me. Can we talk? About opportunities? Absolutely. We walked toward my car, leaving Blake standing in the parking lot, sputtering. You're both fired, he shouted after us. And I'm calling my lawyer. Elena didn't even look back. We reached my car and I unlocked it. That felt amazing, Elena said. Also terrifying. Do you actually have a plan? I have the beginning of a plan. And 16 clients who said they'd follow me. My phone buzzed. Text from Ryan Foster, another senior consultant. Did Elena really just quit in the parking lot? Because if you're starting something, I'm interested. I showed Elena the text. Another text came through. Sophie Chen. Heard what happened. Count me in if you need a data specialist. Then Lucas Wright. Blake just announced emergency all-hands meeting. Everyone's pissed. At least 4 of us are planning to walk. You hiring? I looked at Elena. I think we're starting a company. I went home and sat down with my laptop. If I was going to do this, actually start my own firm, I needed to move fast. I opened a new document and started writing. Vance Consulting Group, business plan. I worked through the night, fueled by coffee and adrenaline. Business structure, LLC, single member to start, with equity options for future partners. Services, management consulting, operational efficiency, strategic planning, everything I'd been doing at Harrison, but with transparent pricing and ethical billing. Office, co-working space to start, low overhead, team, me plus Elena and potentially other Harrison consultants. Pricing, competitive but honest. No inflated proposals, no hidden fees. Client acquisition. I already had 16 commitments. That was $8.2 million in annual billing. By 3 a.m., I had a complete business plan. By 4 a.m., I'd filed LLC paperwork online. By 5 a.m., I'd secured a co-working space membership. By 6 a.m., I drafted engagement letters for all 16 clients. By 7 a.m., I designed a basic logo and website landing page. At 8 a.m., I started making calls. Jonathan Wright answered on the second ring. Audrey, tell me you've got good news. Vance Consulting Group is officially open for business as of this morning. Send me the paperwork. We'll execute it today. Jonathan, I need to be transparent. I'm running lean right now. It's me and one other consultant. No fancy office, just quality work and honest billing. That's literally all we've ever wanted. Send the paperwork. Second call. Christina Park. Please tell me you're calling with what I think you're calling with. Vance Consulting Group is live. If Apex wants to transfer, yes, send everything. By 9 a.m., I'd spoken to 12 of the 16 clients. All 12 were executing transfer agreements. At 9:05 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number, I answered. Is this Audrey Vance? The voice was screaming. Blake Harrison. This is Audrey. Where are my clients? I've got termination notices from 12 companies. 12! In the last hour. I pulled the phone away from my ear slightly. Blake, you need to calm down. Calm down? You've stolen my entire client base. I haven't stolen anything. Clients made independent business decisions. You violated your non-compete. I didn't. I checked with a lawyer. I'm not working for a competitor. I started my own firm. The non-compete doesn't apply. I'll sue you. On what grounds? The clients terminated their contracts legally. I didn't solicit them while employed by you. I informed them of a staffing change. You planned this. I responded to your decision to fire me. What I did after that is my business, not yours. I could hear other voices in the background, shouting, chaos. Blake, what's going on there? I'm standing in an empty lobby because half my consulting staff just walked out. They're saying they're going to work for you. What? Alina Rodriguez, Ryan Foster, Sophie Chen, Lucas Wright. All of them. I hadn't talked to any of them except Elena. Blake, I didn't recruit your staff. Then why are they all going to you? Maybe because they don't want to work for someone who orders them to defraud clients. The line went dead. My phone buzzed with a text. Elena. 4 of us just quit. Can we meet? We want to join Vance Consulting. I texted back. Coffee shop on 5th and Main. 30 minutes. They arrived together, all 4 of them. Elena, Ryan, Sophie, and Lucas settled around the table I'd claimed. Walk me through it, I said. What exactly happened at Harrison this morning? Sophie pulled out her phone. Blake sent an email at 8 a.m. demanding an emergency all-hands meeting. Said anyone caught communicating with you would be terminated immediately. Then he announced that several clients had terminated their contracts, and he blamed you entirely. Lucas added. How did people react? Badly, Elena said. Ryan stood up and asked if it was true that Blake had ordered you to inflate the quantum dynamics proposal. Ryan grimaced. Blake's exact response was, that's proprietary information and none of your business. Which everyone took as confirmation, Sophie added. Then Elena asked if Blake had fired you for refusing to overcharge a client. And Blake lost it, Lucas said. Started yelling about loyalty. It was ugly. That's when I stood up and quit, Ryan said. I told him I wouldn't work for someone who demanded fraud from employees. I quit 30 seconds later, Sophie said. I made it a minute, Lucas added. And then 3 other people quit too, Elena said. Junior consultants. They followed us out. I leaned back. So Blake's lost 12 clients and 7 consultants in less than 24 hours. Sounds about right, Ryan said. Then he looked at me. So, do you have room for 4 more consultants? Before we go any further, I said, I need to be clear about what you're getting into. I started this company 12 hours ago. I have no office, no infrastructure, and no guarantee this works. What I do have is 12 clients committed to transferring their business. That's enough revenue to run lean, but this isn't going to be the corporate environment you're used to. Good, Ryan said, because the corporate environment we're used to sucks. Blake's turned Harrison into a nightmare, Sophie added. Why now? I asked. Because you actually did it, Lucas said. You stood up to him. You walked away. and you built something new in less than 24 hours. That's the kind of leadership we want to work for. All right, here's what I'm thinking. Vance Consulting Group, LLC structure with equity options for partners. We run lean, co-working space, minimal overhead. We focus on quality work, transparent pricing, and building long-term client relationships. Compensation? Ryan asked. Competitive salaries, but probably not quite what Blake was paying, offset by equity stakes and profit sharing. I'm in, Elena said immediately. Same, Sophie said. Me too, Lucas added. Ryan nodded. Let's do it. We spent the next 4 hours at that coffee shop, building a company from scratch. Elena took operational lead. Ryan became our technical director. Sophie headed our data practice. Lucas took business development. And I remained the face of client relationships. By 2 p.m., we had a functional org chart. By 3 p.m., we'd signed partnership agreements. By 4 p.m., we'd moved into our co-working space. By 5 p.m., we were operational. The following morning, I arrived at our co-working space at 7 a.m. to find Elena already there, staring at her laptop. We have a problem, she said. Blake is trying to sabotage us. She turned her screen toward me. He sent emails to all our new clients last night. I read the email. Dear valued client, it has come to our attention that former Harrison Consulting employee Audrey Vance has been making unauthorized contact with our clients using proprietary information. Ms. Vance was terminated for performance issues and violation of company policies. We are prepared to offer a 25% discount on all future services to clients who remain with Harrison Consulting. Sincerely, Blake Harrison, CEO. He sent this to everyone? Every client who terminated their contract. My phone rang. Jonathan Wright. Audrey, I just got the most ridiculous email from Blake Harrison. I'm looking at it now. Performance issues? You're the best consultant I've worked with in 20 years. I'm forwarding this to my legal team. If he's making false statements about you to interfere with your business, that's tortious interference. After I hung up, my phone started ringing continuously. Client after client, all forwarding Blake's email, all angry on my behalf. By 9 a.m., I'd received 12 calls and 23 emails. Not one client was reconsidering their decision, but several were considering legal action against Blake. This is actually working in our favor, Ryan observed. Blake's making himself look desperate. We take the high road, I said. Elena, draft an email to all clients. Thank them for their loyalty. Assure them we're operational and ready to deliver. Don't mention Blake's email at all. My phone rang again. Walter Chen, Harrison's corporate attorney. Ms. Vance, we need to talk about your business practices. What about them? Blake Harrison believes you're using proprietary information to steal clients. Walter, you and I both know that's not true. Client relationships aren't proprietary information. He wants to pursue legal action. He can file whatever he wants, but you should advise him that this is a losing case. 12 clients received his email last night. Several have already contacted me about supporting any defense I might need to mount. Silence. Walter, I know you're just doing your job, but Blake is spiraling. This isn't going to end well for him. I'll convey your position. Quantum Dynamics project officially kicked off the following Monday. Jonathan Wright joined our conference call at 9 a.m. sharp. Audrey, before we start, I want to say something, Jonathan began. What you did took guts. Walking away from a secure job because you refused to compromise your integrity. That's rare. And it's exactly why we're here. I appreciate that, Jonathan. So let's make this project a showcase for what ethical consulting looks like. That's exactly the plan. We spent the next 6 weeks executing flawlessly. The project scope was operational efficiency for Quantum's manufacturing division. We analyzed their processes, identified bottlenecks, and implemented solutions that increased throughput by 23% while reducing costs by $2.1 million annually. Elena managed the project timeline with military precision. Ryan led the analytical work. Sophie's data analysis uncovered patterns in production delays. Lucas coordinated with Quantum's team. And I oversaw everything, making sure we delivered exactly what we'd promised. The final bill, $185,000. Exactly what I'd quoted. Jonathan called me personally when he received the invoice. Audrey, Harrison would have charged us double for half the results. You've got a client for life. That's all I ever wanted. And I'm sending referrals your way. 3 companies in my CEO network are looking for consultants. Within 2 weeks, we had 3 new clients. Within a month, we had 7. Within 3 months, Vance Consulting Group had 23 active accounts and a wait list. We moved into a small office, hired 2 more consultants, brought on an administrative assistant. Revenue for our first full quarter, $3.1 million. Profit margin, 34%. We were profitable from day one. 1 year after walking out of Harrison Consulting, I stood in front of 40 people, our entire team, at our annual company meeting. Vance Consulting Group had grown beyond anything I'd imagined. 37 active clients, $14.2 million in annual revenue, 40 employees, industry recognition for ethical business practices. A year ago, I told the team, I made a choice that terrified me. I walked away from a stable job because I refused to compromise my values. I had no plan, no safety net, and no guarantee it would work. I looked around the room. Elena, Ryan, Sophie, Lucas, my original partners, now equity holders and leaders. The consultants we'd hired, the support staff who kept everything running. But I had something more important than a plan. I had relationships built on trust. I had colleagues who shared my values. And I had the conviction that doing the right thing, even when it's hard, is always worth it. This company exists because we chose integrity over convenience, because we chose transparency over profit maximization, because we chose long-term relationships over short-term gains. And it worked, not because we're smarter than everyone else, but because people want to work with consultants they can trust, because clients value honesty, because in the long run, doing things right is the only sustainable business model. The room applauded. After the meeting, Elena pulled me aside. You know Harrison Consulting shut down last month, right? I hadn't known. What happened? Couldn't recover from losing the client base. Blake tried to rebuild, but word got around about the billing practices. The firm declared bankruptcy 2 weeks ago. I felt no satisfaction in that. Just sadness that it had to end that way. What about Blake? Last I heard, he's working for a mid-sized firm in a non-leadership role. 2 years after starting Vance Consulting Group, I spoke at a business ethics conference. The topic, Building Trust in Consulting. Why integrity isn't just good ethics, it's good business. The room was packed. I told the story, all of it. The demand to overcharge quantum dynamics, getting fired, starting a company overnight, 16 clients following me, building a firm from scratch. During the Q&A, a young woman raised her hand. Ms. Vance, what would you say to someone in a similar position? Someone being asked to compromise their ethics for their job? I thought about it carefully. I'd say that your reputation is built in inches and lost in miles. My father taught me that. One unethical decision might seem small. One inflated invoice, one corner cut, one client misled. But that's how you lose everything that matters. I'd also say that walking away is terrifying. I was scared out of my mind the day I left Harrison. I had no idea if it would work. But I knew I could live with uncertainty. I couldn't live with compromising my integrity. And finally, I'd say that there are always consequences to standing up for what's right. You might lose your job. You might face lawsuits. You might have people call you naive or idealistic. But the alternative, staying in a situation that requires you to betray your values, costs you something much more important. It costs you yourself. The applause was thunderous. After my talk, at least 20 people approached me. Young professionals, mid-career managers, even a few senior executives. They all told similar stories: pressure to cut corners, bosses demanding unethical behavior, fear of standing up. I gave them all the same advice. Your integrity is the only thing nobody can take from you unless you give it away. 3 years after leaving Harrison Consulting, Vance Consulting Group had become one of the most respected firms in our industry. 62 employees, $28 million in annual revenue, offices in 3 cities, a client retention rate of 98%. But more important than the numbers was what we'd built. A company where people were proud to work, where clients knew they'd get honest advice and transparent billing, where doing the right thing wasn't just a slogan. It was how we operated every single day. Elena had become COO. Ryan was our Chief Strategy Officer. Sophie led a data science practice that was becoming industry-renowned. Lucas had built our business development into an art form. And me? I was CEO of a company that proved something I'd always believed. Integrity isn't a handicap in business. It's a competitive advantage. The clients who'd followed me from Harrison, all still with us. They'd brought referrals. Those referrals brought more referrals. Our entire growth was word of mouth from people who valued working with consultants they could trust. As for that day, Blake Harrison demanded I overcharge quantum dynamics. Best firing I ever received. Because it forced me to make a choice: compromise my values for a paycheck or walk away and build something better. I chose to walk away. And I built something better than I'd ever imagined. That's what happens when you refuse to overcharge a client, when you stand up for what's right, when you understand that integrity isn't negotiable. You lose a job, but you gain everything that actually matters. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever faced pressure to compromise your values, or wondered whether integrity really matters in business, join our community. Hit that subscribe button as we continue our journey to 2,000 subscribers. These stories of people who chose principles over profit, who built something meaningful by doing things right, matter now more than ever. Thanks for being here, and thanks for believing that business can be done with integrity.